recording. Right. Hello and welcome everybody. This is a half-hour session on social media for hospitality, clubs, pubs, that sort of thing. And we're going to talk about content creation and what you can and can't do during the time of a pandemic or crisis. And the last half an hour, I want to open up to questions. So it's actually a 1 hour session. You're free to come and go as you want. And the session, including the questions, will be available to you because I've clicked recording and I need to figure out how I then send out that link to you because I don't have your email addresses. So if you want a copy of the recording, if you want a copy of the courses that are coming up, if you want another session, I don't know, then please contact Linda in the chat. And she's just put up her email address and she'll send the link for the online programs and everything like that. So thank you very much, Linda. So there's a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. Again, please keep your... The reason I'm running this as a meeting, not as a webinar, is because I think there's lots and lots of webinars of people just lecturing to people, and I'm much more community and social focused than that. So I do want the ability for you to be able to unmute and show your video as we go through. But just for the beginning section, let's keep things on track. All right, so I'm 56 participants. Excellent. Thank you. I think we can go up to around 100, I think. So that's good. Okay. I've got my notes in front of me and I usually do everything on digital notepads, but too many screens to look at. So I've got all these post-it notes of just the key points to get through today and the key examples that I want to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about is that there's been a huge increase in traffic for many of the sites, but not all. So as an example, in March, TikTok, and this is for March, so we really only had the stay-at-home order for halfway through the lockdown. But you can see that TikTok has had an increase of 50% of traffic during the month of March. And as America, and this is worldwide, we can use Google Trends to look at Australia, but worldwide, that's where we're at. We're at 50% increase in traffic. And because somebody will be interested, I guess, let me just pop that in front of us. If you can't see the screen, please let me know. But in the last 12 months, there was a spike in September. I need to investigate what that was about, but it could have been the launch of a new country, or it could have been a massively viral TikTok campaign. And then if you look at trends, your score is always 100 for the biggest day or the largest month, and then everything else is a percentage of that largest month. So at the moment, the 5th to the 11th of April is the largest month. And if we look at Australia, then we'll be able to see that the increase of TikTok in Australia has been massive. Look, I'm not saying go on TikTok. I just think that it's interesting for you to note that in general, social media usage of people locked down at home has been pretty big. Now, TikTok, people will say, well, it's just for kids. I actually love the grandparents on TikTok. They're hilarious. If you want to have a feel for the community on TikTok, if Instagram is your perfect life, TikTok is you goofing off. So it's people doing goofy things. If you look at Washington Post and their targeting of younger demographics, the guys are goofing off around the Washington Post office. But it's not all goofing off. You know, there's lots of what I would call edu-social rather than enter-social. So if you think of social media as having content that's educational, content that's entertainment focused. So who would be, and United Nations is often educational focused. Then the Washington Post is going for entertainment and fun and building their brand to make it relevant for a younger youth demographic. So you have to be where your customers are. If you've got a youth demographic for that you want to build out your brand for in the future, then maybe this would be a good time for figuring out what to do on TikTok. At the very least, your homework, and I'm going to give you lots of homework, is to download TikTok and see what's happening in food, hospitality, targeting different demographics, different voices, the educational voice of United Nations and UNICEF and whoever, and then maybe the entertainment voice of media companies like Washington Post. I know the footy clubs, AFL and NFL, I don't know football, but they've quite a few of them have got TikTok accounts. In fact, it's one of the 3 largest accounts in Australia is for footy. And so TikTok's interesting. Now, what I would like you to write in chat, and it should be at the bottom of your screen, there should be a chat button that you can click on, is just to type a message and let me know if you've already looked at TikTok. Actually, let me know if it's even a private addiction of yours. It's something that makes you laugh, people goofing off. There's lots of tradies doing silly dances. And Tracy says, only through my kids' accounts. Kids are always good for blaming, for watching goofy, silly videos. Hey, look, things are a little bit miserable at the moment. And I would say if you have children, that they are learning a hard and fast lesson on how to deal with stress, probably before you wanted them to have to deal with some of this stuff. And so if TikTok is giving them some entertainment, I mean, if they're watching it 24/7, maybe we need to relook at that. But if it's making them laugh, if they come and show you a funny video, good. So much better for it. And everybody's saying their kids are, does it pose any security risks? Steve, everything online poses a security risk. And I have to tell you right now, even Zoom does. And we're investigating working with Zoom to make things more secure. And the Zoom CEO is looking at making things more secure. TikTok is owned by a Chinese company. And but I would also say a lot of the big data companies that are working with the American companies also have Chinese connections. I mean, if you're really concerned, part of the funding of Facebook from the earliest days was done by the CIA's investment arm through Peter, I don't know, one of the main investors into Facebook. So, security is a rabbit hole that I like to jump down. But at the end of the day, I also have to work with, because that's where my clients are. I mean, Murdoch's not exactly a shiny example of security either. So it's Marcella says, yes, but it feels like a time waster. Kids love it, but agree it's all a bit silly. Yes, entertainment is a bit silly. And if your branding is the class clown, then I think TikTok would work for you. If you have chef or staff that like to provide a bit of goofiness, then that is something that you can look at. I want to quickly move on. LinkedIn's dropped dramatically. Sorry, didn't drop dramatically. LinkedIn's only picked up 3%. Big shock there. And this brings me to one of the first points I want to make about social media in the time of the coronavirus, is that about 80 or 90% of your competitors are going to drop the ball. And you may from time to time as well. And there's a couple of things there. One is be gentle with yourself. It is extremely hard to stay motivated when you are unable to pivot, you don't have customers, your customers' numbers have dropped, your sales have dropped, but you're being told to do more content creation, more this, more that. So the fact that LinkedIn, instead of people hammering it hard to build connections, build relationships, they're not. And I'll give you probably an extreme, not even an extreme example, a classic example of this. I had somebody that I was working with, a consultant that I was paying, let's say they're a consultant, and I had to cancel some stuff in September last year. And that person and I are both in bushfire areas. So by December, the bushfire hit us. So we weren't working together then either. And then obviously during the virus, and it's something we pretty well have to do face to face, that person and I haven't worked together either. And I've only heard from this consultant twice in the last, say, 6 months. And one was to ask me in February if I was ready to come back. And it was like a blanket statement to everybody. And then the other one was that they were putting their fees up, and that came out about a week and a half ago. And I would say that that's pretty classic. There's very little connection building. There's very little asking how I can help. It's been a bold-faced, do you want to work with me again? And then the second one is, I'm putting my fees up. And I understand it because this person is a solo consultant and they don't have an opportunity for much else. But maybe that is not the best way to go about marketing. And it's probably not the best way to go about sales, but definitely not about marketing. With Facebook, we're looking at an increase of 20% usage, and that's probably would have all been gained in the last 10 days of March. So April will be interesting to see if that number's increased dramatically. And then the other buttons across it. Just move that down. And then we want Instagram. We've got an increase in 12% in March. And then in Twitter's been pretty dramatic, 21%. And that's because a few politicians are on there. Sort of interesting. So this is the time when people are at home. They're looking for content and they're looking to build relationships. And I want to talk quickly about the geofencing that happens on social media. So the algorithm identifies where a phone is, where a laptop is, and where that phone or laptop is checking in from. And even if you've turned off location services, you've turned it off so that it doesn't publish publicly that you're sitting at home in Wollongong, or for me in the Blue Mountains or wherever. But the system still knows. So there's a lot of geofencing that's happening where Facebook and Instagram, for instance, is really cementing at the moment where people's home base are. And that will allow them in the future to direct ads and content to people who live in the Blue Mountains or Wollongong or something like that. For your content creation, and we'll get onto the different types of content creation shortly, I want to point out you want to use your words. So don't just say something like, we're open today, and then put up a graphic. Say, blah, blah club is open for takeaways in the Wollongong area. Try and use your words. Let the system work on behalf of you. This is called Lexicon. It's a trademark artificial intelligence semantic engine. Gee, you're learning a lot. That just simply means it's a keyword engine that uses artificial intelligence to determine where people are and then map to them content. If you haven't seen the new Facebook, this is what it looks like. And one of the things that Mark Zuckerberg said that they're doing with the new Facebook is to deliver local news to people locally. And he uses the word news in a general way. It just means if there's an event on, if there's news about what's happening in that suburb, that for that school, that football club or whatever, they're going to try and make sure marketplace everything that it's like the local version of the local rag, the local newspaper, and they're going to force that into the news feeds. So as long as you're ahead of the game, then you can really geofence, really anchor in your social media. And for Facebook, it's Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And I would also be doing this with LinkedIn. Twitter's all over the place with their algorithm. That is what it is, but they have bought an algorithm company called Blue Blue something. If you know it, let me know in the chat. Blue turtle. I know it's not blue whale because they're foul. When Twitter goes down, they use a wow, and it's not that one. So at the moment, what I want to talk about for social media and creating content is to really focus on being on brand, not on topic. And on brand, not on topic means, I found a good example of this the other day. Don't forget, so this is the Wentworth Hotel. Don't forget the clocks change this weekend. You don't want to be late for going to your living room. So there's a little bit of humor there. And does it have anything to do with the hotel's products or services? No. It's a entertainment voice, leaning towards funny. I hesitate to say funny. I'm partial to a good dad's joke, but I know not a lot of people are. So they're shifting their voice into that kind of, you have to laugh, don't you, kind of, I guess, content. And the only thing that I would suggest here is that they use their suburb and a little bit more, to all the families at home in the blah blah area, and then use some keywords so that it can be so the algorithm can target local people. At this point in time, you want to stay local. There's not a lot of work to be done. Even if you're in a highly trafficked tourist area and it's going to be just too easy to make a misstep, stay with your local community. And remember, as you build brand love in the local community and you stay engaged with them, what you'll discover is that they will recommend you when the going gets good. So the Getty's museum, Getty, they had, not Getty Images, Art Gallery Museum or something, they asked people to create or recreate photos at home of famous paintings. Nobody's going to be able to visit an art gallery or museum at the moment, but when lockdowns are lifted, parents and teachers will be able to say to the kids, let's go here and have a look. And everybody will have a bit of a laugh and say, oh, we did that at home as well. And they've got some that were specifically for children. So recreating the washing machine scene for the kids. And I think it's an excellent example of being on brand but not on topic, in the sense of, well, it's still kind of on topic, isn't it? But it's content marketing, not promotion marketing. Just recreate this at home, have some fun. And for people who are homeschooling at the moment, it allows them to shift the voice to something more humorous and fun for kids than maybe sitting there and staring at a Zoom with their teacher or having to look at textbooks or navigate different things. So a really good example. If any of you are doing a campaign like this, not running a competition in the sense of a giveaway, that's a promotion, but just a fun content campaign, can you let me know in the chat? And Marcus, yes, I agree. I love the idea of recreating scenes like this. I think when I was working on the MasterChef social media, Junior MasterChef, I didn't create the content. There was a content strategist attached to the production house, and we posted and managed their content. And it was years ago, but I pretty sure that there was a bunch of stuff that was like, recreate these dishes at home. So I'm wondering if you've probably got videos and photos of product hero shots from your chefs or kitchens, food, something at home, cocktails, I don't know. I'm guessing F&B, even if you're outsourcing that to third parties, then you've probably got something there. So, and that brings me to the next point that I want to talk about, is this massive increase in dark kitchens. And I'm starting to see dark kitchens working. And dark kitchens, I'll get to that in a moment, but you're kind of doing this anyway, or you were. Dark kitchens build connections into the hospitality community that will create brand ambassadors even when everybody disseminates and goes somewhere else. So the operator comes in, everything's been sanitized. They use the kitchen because they've got a database of 10 or 12 people who want home delivery, and then the venue offers them booking time within the kitchen, so that there isn't one chef, there's a number of chefs from within the community, top chefs who've had to close their own spaces, and they already have a database and they're going to do home deliveries. So an example of this one is, and this is your call, I'm not saying do this or that you can do this, but in Cairns, the Guyala restaurant in 2 Smith Street is open for breakfast and lunch, and they do takeaways, breakfast and brunch restaurant. And then during the rest of the day, they run Smoky Pete's Dark Kitchen, food delivery service out of here. And it basically becomes more like a community kitchen, but obviously you have to be extremely careful with sanitization and shifting people in and out. It's an interesting concept. It allows, pivoting is something that requires innovation. And something that I know about innovation, or that I've come across, particularly with government, is they'll often say to me, we want to do something innovative, and can you show us where it's been working before? And so I always want to kind of say back, well, if it's innovative, I can't show you that it's working. So maybe look up Guyala, look up Smoky Pete's, see what they're doing with their local community, with the chefs and the staff in the community, and allowing them to come in using sanitized kitchen, creating their and offering food delivery services, a proper dark kitchen. The kitchen owner, the club or the restaurant can sometimes take over the delivery aspect, to basically just allow the chefs who maybe went into the community and created a restaurant without realizing that restaurant requires not only them to do what they love, which is cooking, but then they need to do staff management, and they need to do budgets, and they need to do marketing, and they need to do sales, and they need bookings, and they need rental, and all the other things that go with it. And let's simplify things. Let's offer some different options. Now, maybe there's the dark kitchen of this kind of community collaborative space under strict quarantine rules that can be shifted into other areas. I don't know what that would look like, but maybe there is something. So let's have a look. Hannah's planning to share a recipe for Anzac biscuits and ask followers to share their photos of kids making them. We can then reshare these photos as part of Anzac Day. What a fantastic idea, particularly as Anzac Day has been cancelled this year. Hannah, that's an awesome idea. And I just want you to remember that most of you are not in competition with each other, because you're not in the same geolocative space, in the same physical locations, the same towns. So Keppel Bay Sailing Club has been running an Easter bonnet competition, and permission from parents to post photos. That's the other thing. I want to just check with Getty's that they got permission. But I'm not guessing, it would be unfair for a parent to post a photo of their kids to your page or your Instagram and directing you to it, and then get upset that their kids have been featured. But then again, parents are not always thinking ahead of time about exactly how many millions of people may see this stuff. So it would be a good idea to explicitly say that that's what you're doing, that you're allowed to reshape, reshare. Fantastic. Yes, I agree. You've got to have that permission. We're looking at the moment at content, not promotions. Let me just take a little quick drink. And the kind of content is either educational or it's entertainment. They're the two main voices. There's probably others in there as well, but the community, being part of the community. I just want to highlight something a real estate agency did here in the Blue Mountains during not the last bushfires, but the ones before, because we are in crisis quite often up here in the Blue Mountains. And I'm laughing, but I'm not really. While one real estate agency was posting up houses for sale in the Winmalee area, which had burnt a lot of the streets that had burnt down, and Winmalee's not huge. I mean, we're talking 10 or 20 streets from memory. They just left their content calendar running. So all the houses, all the ads, all the featured, bathrooms, that house probably didn't exist anymore. The other real estate agency shut down everything, all sales, and made themselves the hub on the main street for collecting children's cots and children's toys and children's clothing, because the people who had lost houses, they were covered with adults' clothing, but there was a need in the community for children's clothing. And everything they posted on social during that time was to act as a community center. And it was on brand, but not on topic. But to this day, and those fires were in 2015? Gee, I was in Wentworth Falls at the time, and I've moved to Mount Vic since then. That community still remembers that real estate agency and how well they helped. So if people are looking to sell in the area, they're going to remember with fondness that particular real estate agency, and less fondness the one that just kept posting up houses for sale when maybe it wasn't appropriate. During the more recent bushfires, there is I don't want to name names, but there's two wineries. They're literally next door to each other. One had outsourced social media to city folk, and they were still posting up product hero shots of blue skies and platters of cheese and wine and stuff, which is awesome. Actually, it's making me feel hungry. Is it lunchtime? Nearly. And the other winery next door was showing the fires up to the fence and what they were doing around the winery to cover themselves, and they showed the ash in the air. And locals were asking, why is one showing a blue sky and the other one is showing what's really going on here? And again, locals have a lot to do with even transiting and external outside populations coming in. Which brings me to crisis comms. Be extremely careful around Easter with this pitching services to out of towners, because on all the forums I'm on, and I'm on my own local one, and then I'm obviously adminning and managing others, there is a real rejection to external people coming in for their holiday homes and their Airbnb, and there's quite a lot of anger and fear about that the small local hospital with 14 beds and one ventilator is going to be swamped with 3,000 people coming in, bringing a virus in with them. So try and keep tight community focused. That's what I would do. Be putting a lot of stuff out there, I guess, for the community and to support the community and help the community. Be a little careful with your promotions into non-community. And I've got here, I don't know if you can see that, community love, building brand ambassadors, building community love. The last couple of things, and then I want to get on to some questions. JobKeeper came out yesterday. I've been talking to a number of finance people about it, and everybody's a little bit confused. But my understanding is that the ATO, not Centrelink, I'm not an expert. I'm just saying what I've discovered, and you've probably got better ideas than me, but that the ATO, not Centrelink, pays you pay your staff, and this is to keep them in a job whether you're open or not. So this is, I would call, something similar to universal basic income, except instead of a UBI where people can choose to work or not, you are going to put your staff to work, but you can put them to work as content creators. I would create an online forum, and if you use a service like I'm going to give you, and the link, by the way, is bit.ly/ oh, what was it again? The drop or something? The drop 10. We'll send it out anyway. This gives people on private communities, public communities, and online courses, or just use a Facebook group, but keep it for staff. Dig into your staff and see what they're doing. How are they filling their time? Now, some of them are going to be super productive and they're learning Mandarin. I would have a little behind the scenes for your venue, for your pub, and say, you know, a lot of you know John works behind the bar. He's learning Mandarin, and we've talked him into teaching you one word a week on a video or just a post, teaching some Mandarin or something. If you have a lot of local Mandarin speakers in the area, it will be a bit of a laugh for them. They can correct him or help him or whatever. Keep the private group for staff, and then I would recommend some other Facebook groups or the other platform, like I mentioned on there, some other platform, maybe for subject matter interests. I often talk about in social media how the algorithm targets psychographics. So if I bring up a psychographic of, I know we're going a little bit over time, and I did say we'd get to questions, but it's let me just go to whoa, provincial. Sorry, bring this over here. So this is a detailed targeting that you can consider that Facebook uses. So this is actually a screenshot from Facebook, and it's hidden at the moment, but I have access to how these psychographics are built. But they split people up into different kinds of customer avatars, and anybody who's done detailed targeting with Facebook or Instagram ads knows that this is the sort of thing that Facebook does. You've probably even played with these a little bit, but as an example, country living are people who live in rural areas. Golden days are well-off retirees that are ex-board members or something. Neighbours with kids often are on using coupons and special offers. We have metro high flyers who are urban young professionals, often single. And if I look at neighbours with kids, people in this segment are families living in metro areas. They're living comfortably but are conscious of living modestly and not blowing their budget. When we go into these in more details, and I'll bring up an actual option for these. So prudent nostalgia are older people. They like discount stores and secondhand goods, promotions and clearances. And I guess my interest in them is also when I look at their behaviors with what am I trying to say? gambling online and gambling in person, and how they spend their money and what they gamble on and things like that. So I'll just bring up these are all going through there. About 5% of the population. Got that one, and the full one is this one. So I'm just quickly want to show you, I'm not sure if it's clear, but their main hobbies are online poker and betting, armchair sports fans, and they do very little in toys and hobbies and costumes and wigs and different things. So these are actual spending behaviors. I'm sorry it's not very clear. I'll just see if I can make that a little bit clearer. Oh, there we go. When I say spending behaviors, this is from credit cards, loyalty cards. This is from Quantium, so it's everyday rewards cards. It's Qantas frequent flyer cards. And when we compare the different groups, you'll notice that the highest volume of cigarette smokers sit within prudent nostalgia. So older people who like gambling and budget discount stores and are cigarette smokers. And then you would compare them, for instance, to other older people who are golden days, retirees, maybe they're still directors on boards. Very few of them are still smoking. Very few of them do gambling. Very few of them use budget discount stores, but they're looking for, what's the word, like boutique food and things like that. So I'm always building out my demographics, psychographics, my customer avatars, and it's pretty important for me to know those things. And what I would suggest is that we've never had a lot of time before to really work this into the algorithm to make sure that the right content to the right people at the right time is going out. So it ends up being lots of promotional stuff like half-price schnitzels, which is Linda's favorite one, and other things like that. Now you've got time. You've got staff that are being paid by JobKeeper who have interests that you could create a community ambassador program and invite people in who want to learn a language or who want to learn cooking or something. I don't want to tell you what those things are because it's easy to go, no, not those, rather than go, I wonder what would work. And you don't have to do hundreds of them, a couple of them, and use the next, I would say, well, Scott Morrison said 3 months. Use the next 3 months. Hopefully you'll still have your staff and that JobKeeper is enough. And keep working, building ambassadors in the community so that your pub, your club is a community center. It's the equivalent of the old village square. So Linda's put up at-home tips from your gym manager. That was interesting. The gym that I belong to, they said that all of our payments were suspended for 6 months, but that if we reinitiated them, we could have all the at-home videos and the at-home community. And I said no and just cancelled it. And now they're scrambling back. They've offered the service for free, but I think so many people deleted the app because they were concerned that they would have to keep paying, that it stopped being, that they basically skip that step where you lose people because it's become productized and move into content. Like skip that, become a community ambassador rather than the gym trying to keep the at-home fee the same as the gym fee, which was a silly idea in the first place. We're already doing what our staff is up to. Excellent. The only thing I want you to do is to really segment it out and also use your hashtags no matter what platform you're on. Facebook has a lot of help files on how to use hashtags on Facebook. So they definitely look at hashtags. They wouldn't be and they focus on journalists, telling journalists how to use the hashtags to help distribution of content. But, if you've got one staff member who's just says, I'm just sitting at home watching Netflix all day. Excellent, mate. You're on JobKeeper. Why don't you come up with some reviews of what you're watching on Netflix and just see if they can create, not everybody is a communicator. Not everybody takes to communication. It's a shock to me because I'm a communicator and but I know that not everybody wants to create videos. Not everybody wants to create essays. What you will find is that some people are happy to pick up their phone and do a quick video. They don't want to write an essay. They don't want to be back in school. So look to your stuff. Hospitality across the board tend to be people. Not everybody. I'm sure we're immediately thinking of a couple of examples that are not people. But it would be a hard look. I work in developer communities, so devs like to sit in the corner with their computer and their headphones on and not talk to everybody. I get it. But in hospitality communities, communicators, and this should be fun. If your staff as content creators are not enjoying themselves, your audience are not going to enjoy themselves. So it's like it shouldn't be too onerous. Samantha, you can create private communities, private Facebook groups, and you can attach your Facebook groups to your page. And you can also shift a Facebook group from being a normal Facebook group, whatever that means, to being a learning Facebook group, and that offers units, what they call units, and courses and videos in it. So, for instance, I run a group called Community Crew. It's a free group, and I have I haven't seen the new one. I have on the left the option for where's my I can't find it, but there is an option to there it is down here. Let me just get rid of the guy. I'm not sure why the new pop-ups, these are called icebreakers, by the way. They come with pages and people can ask, they're bots, people can ask questions, and then if you're going to put questions in, what kind of food do you serve? Do you do takeaways? Are you open over Easter? Whatever. Try and put one in which says, how can we help you in the community? Not that, but something similar. And then down the bottom down here, there's units. And so you can set up educational or topic matters, if you like. So you can do this for staff. Look, if you don't want to do it publicly and engage with audiences, then you could even run a private staff community to get their training up to date. Maybe you haven't had time to take them through some new hospitality training. Not my area of expertise. Whatever. Find videos, find YouTube videos, find something that's publicly accessible, and then put them in as, switch your group to units, and then you can give the staff private lessons as well. Okay, I'm going to unmute all. Is that a good idea? No, I tell you what I'll do. If you ask a question in the Zoom chat, I will unmute you, and then we can maybe, would that be a good idea? Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I don't want it just to be me. So I'll just stop that one. Ask a question, and then we can move into some group stuff. Oh, Christine, you're in the Blue Mountains as well. Excellent. So Natalie's got a question. Natalie, what's your question?
Oh, I don't have a question. I'm just learning. I think I've
oh, okay. You've got your hand up. You can put your hand down if you want. How are you doing social media at the moment, or have you backed off on social media, or are you planning on a new content strategy, or what are you doing?
Oh, I've just started taking over from social media, and I've just been reposting. I work at the Ballarat Golf Club. So yeah, doing contents. I quite like some of the things people are doing. For example, the Anzac Day biscuits. So doing something around that. I've got a lot of staff, obviously, that don't have. Sorry about the dog.
What kind of dog is it?
cavoodle.
Okay.
Sitting in the sunshine in
Did
the
you say you're
backyard.
with a golf club?
Yes.
Look, people can talk golf up and down the street, right? My dad loved golf. And I'm wondering, if you're on brand but not on topic, do you have lots and lots of educational tips about golf and showing some of the greatest golf games ever and what new technology around golf is all about? Have you got lots of content like that in your diary?
It's very accessible to me. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I've worked a little bit with golf clubs, and it's finding, all that stuff that they love to engage with in amongst, and in normal times it would be a lot of promotions. Now it's a big shift towards content. So awesome.
A lot of people are doing showing their golf tricks that they've been learning at home. So reposting those has been great.
Yeah. One thing we don't have time to go into today, but something that I implement, particularly with media companies, like if we're doing a launch of a big movie like Les Mis, or for the TV shows, but it works really well in other areas as well, is a programming schedule. So your programming schedule would be something like Friday afternoon, have a joke. So it's like there's somebody playing golf at home and smashing all their windows, or like find something humorous and get them. What happens with the programming schedule is that it doesn't happen straight away. The first few weeks, the first few months, even hit and miss. By the time you have got into the second or third month, you want people to complain if it's not there. And so, Throwback Thursday, Flashback Friday, moving on up Monday. There's a reason why communities ritualize Q&A on Monday night. If it's ever not on, people get upset. If the evening news isn't on at 6:00, probably because the cricket's on, but people get upset. So an example with this would be Tourism Australia's Fan Photo Friday at 10:00 on Friday mornings. Millions of people are checking in to see the 15 photos that they've chosen from their community on Fridays. So finding a programming schedule where the same thing is posted each day will give you some additional leverage there as the algorithm starts to pay attention on dates and times of postings as well. You're probably already doing that, but I'm just saying if you're mapping out your content calendar, give it a date and time as well. Why no tips on how to keep up your skills at home? What does that mean? Oh, you mean with golf? Yes, I think that must have come through a moment ago. If your business name has your area, e.g. Burwood OSL, do you need to include in the text for lexicon? Yes. Oh, yeah, because somebody's surname could be Burwood, or they could be Burwoods around the world. Or also another thing, if I just screen share for a moment, and we'll do that one. I'm guessing most of you do this anyway. When I'm saying guessing, because the new version's out, things get a little bit lost around the traps, and I haven't actually checked this one myself. I literally got the invite yesterday to the new version. So, of course, it's been an interesting time. So we want to go to the home, and I need to get rid of Gayala because it's going to keep doing it. This is just a little training page that I have. When I click on create a post, I want to, oh, you know what? They've hidden it again. Let me just go into Creator Studio. How many people here are using Creator Studio? this allows you to, this is Facebook's social media dashboard that allows you to post and schedule to Facebook and Instagram, including scheduling, and to do your content library, to look at all your analytics. It's basically sort of business manager-ish, but business manager sits across all the ad managers. Creator Studio allows you to create the content and post across, I don't know, multiple pages and collections of pages and things like that. So if you're not using it, there's some more homework for you. Have a bit of a play. So I'm going to create a post. I'm going to put it on my play page. Let's just move me over there. And I'm going to change it from public, and I'm going to do newsfeed targeting. And then I'm going to put in here Burwood, and I would choose either, sometimes you can choose the neighborhood, sometimes you choose the city, and sometimes you can choose within a certain number of kilometers of a particular area. And so I do newsfeed targeting, one in every so often post, to keep reinforcing to the algorithm that this particular page is to service this geo community. Don't do it for all, because there are times when you need a wider reach, or you have transient domestic or international tourism coming through or something like that. But I would consider maybe doing newsfeed targeting in this way to try and use specific audiences for a particular page. Again, this isn't for an ad. This is just for your normal everyday posting. It's about saying we've got 10,000 people on our page, about 4,000 of those are stuck at home in the Burwood area. The rest are all over Australia, all over the world. I just want to target people in the geolocation of Burwood to tell them that the takeaways are open for another hour or something for the local community. So if you're not doing targeted posts in that way, consider it. There's probably a way to do it natively on the page, but not many people are using the native page anymore. I do want to give you a word of warning. The rollout of version 5 of Facebook, this new version of Facebook, and it's only, where are we? It's only just now rolling out around the world, around Australia, around the world. And there are some big changes coming that are not yet implemented. So at the moment, it's just this kind of dark mode and different layout. The tabs at the top, the home button, the pages button, the sort of YouTube competitor is here for your videos to go out. I think that one's going to move into a premium place. They're talking about moving pages to the end, and they're definitely talking about moving groups up. Mark Zuckerberg said groups, events, and local information is going to dominate the feed, and the native feed is going to be demoted. And when he was asked about business pages, he didn't. The head of the news feed said, "Oh, we support our businesses on Facebook," and that was it. So feed into that what you will. If you're relying on pages, this time when you're content creating and you've got maybe staff that can help you, would be a time to move into groups and attach groups to your page. You know, you just go to groups and you create a group and you attach it to your page and you're good to go. How many of you are running groups currently? Oh, the newsfeed group, the newsfeed targeting window. I'm glad you guys are asking me these questions, because something that's happened, of course, with the new version is Muggins here has got all these Zooms booked, and she has to learn the new version pretty quickly. Oh, I'm just going to do the old way. Settings. You go into settings, you go to general, and it's usually the third one down. Oh, it's the fourth one down, so that's new. Audience optimization for posts, the ability to select news feed targeting and restrict the audience for your post is turned on. And if I tap it, I can uncheck it and turn it off. So if yours is turned off, turn it on. And that allows you to, when would you want to use this? If you're offering if you have a child care centre as part of your community club, you could target parents with children between these ages. If you've got information for senior citizens, then you would want to make that post only go to senior citizens. Remember, every post someone doesn't engage with, if Lowell doesn't engage with your posts are taken out of Lowell's newsfeed after the second or third time that no engagement occurs. And this is why you see pages with large numbers, like 10,000 people on the page, but only a 0.1% engagement, because it's simply not being shown to people who subscribe to the page. So get your engagement up by telling Facebook, this post is for senior citizens, this post is for young families, this post is for budget conscious, this post is for people who work in hospitality because it's a job post, this post, whatever. Just, play with targeting. You can't get it wrong. Yeah, all right, you're going to learn, but you have to get things wrong to learn. Laura, we created a second brand selling fresh take-home meals for our members and the community. What are your thoughts on posting the same content to both Facebook pages? Look, that's exactly what Guyala did with Smoky Pete's. And I'm a big believer in the page should be the same target audience, and multiple pages should be for products and services. It can be the same product and service, but for different audiences. Because Facebook will choose one audience and they'll look at your page and they'll say, look, hardly any teens are engaging with this page, hardly any retirees are engaging this page. It seems to be typically 28 to 35-year-old women with 2 children. Then the other groups are diminished in the news feed, and the primary, Facebook calls it a preferred audience. The primary preferred audience is put front and center. You need as many social spaces as you have audiences, and then you cross promote products and services to the different audiences. As an example, you've got takeaway food. If you know you've got a lot of teens and it's a university student town and the uni students haven't gone home, they're in lockdown in the university town, I don't know, Wollongong or Bathurst or somewhere, then I would create a funky, trendy Facebook group or page, probably a group, and have something that uni students what content that they're interested in. Create a magazine, a community magazine for them, maybe with diffusion branding. Maybe, Smoky Pete's is a completely different brand than Guyala, even though we're operating out of the same premises. And then I would create another one for maybe senior citizens. Look at what Telstra does. They've got specialist social media channels just for senior citizens, and they have customer service people on there just to answer questions like, my iPhone's not working and my grandson showed me how to set up Facebook Live and I've forgotten how to do it. Can you help me? And it's not for the general public, but they've trained the algorithm to make sure that this psychographic sees the stuff that they're doing. I don't know if it's still there. At the time they were working with banks, and the retirees could go into the bank, and the Telstra person was working with the bank person to show them how to access online banking with their phones. So, not something that's out in the general public, but this is the point of niching down. You need to target the right content to the right audience. So I don't know if that helps, Steve. How many audiences do you have? Well, how large is your community? And specialist towns like a Silicon Valley, it's going to be pretty well. The primary audience is going to be techie, geeky people, startups, and then the secondary audience is going to be the whole infrastructure that supports that kind of community. But if you're not Silicon Valley, there's a good chance you've got people speaking different languages, you've got people at different stages of their life. You probably have actually, even when I lived in Glebe, I was kind of surprised at how many well-off media people lived in the area. And then we had a lot of retirees that had lived in Glebe even when it was a real working class suburb rather than inner city suburb. There was also one of the big churches owned hostels and housing for at-risk people. So there was a fashion school there, so there were lots of punks who thought they were being innovative wandering around Glebe. I love Glebe. It was a melting pot of so many languages and so many different groups, but it would have been extremely hard to run one of the clubs or pubs or something in Glebe, because you would pretty well need a different social space for each one of those retirees, from audiences, from retirees to media people to coupon communities, to all kinds. We have a services club with 15,000 members, the older demographic. Yeah. And I would say focus on them. You would need to take a slightly more serious voice than you would with a university town. The fear is real for over 60 at-risk groups during this time, but that doesn't mean you can't have a little bit of play with them. We've put something together in one of the areas up here in the Blue Mountains for retirees. There's quite a few up here that are not cashed up, and it's a lot about helping put together goodie bags and then distributing those, helping them get the deliveries that they need because they can't get to the seniors citizens hour in the shopping centres. There's a few different things that are happening up here, community initiatives. So we're at 12:02, we're a couple of minutes over. I just want to go back and highlight what I've said. There's an increase in traffic to social media at the moment. Everybody's sitting at home looking for content. And you want to be on brand, not necessarily on topic. On topic would mean, special offers and coupons and things like that. So I would suggest that you have a think about, be the real estate agent that's collecting stuff and distributing it, or pivot. One that I didn't cover is you may be pivoting every week, and that's going to get annoying. So it's like, while you can do this service, do it, go hard as long as you can. And then when you're not allowed to do that anymore, find a different. So for instance, if they stop people from coming in to pick up takeaways and they only allow deliveries and only under strict hygiene, then you'll need to pivot away from takeaways to home delivery and be prepared for some of those sort of. The idea is to get as far through the next 3 months as you can without grinding to a complete halt, because then hopefully if you do have to grind to a complete halt, it's only for the last 2 weeks rather than having the whole 3 months being an at-risk time for your business. Talk about the community, stay on the community, share things within the community. All the algorithm loves reshared community relevant information. Share stuff the football club's doing, share stuff that the school's doing. And obviously not the school if you're dealing with 15,000 members older demographic, unless you think the grandparents are the ones who are looking after the children. And for some it isn't, some not, but if they are, then they're helping the kids with the homeschooling. So it could be tips for homeschooling for grandparents, and then they'll ask them to pitch in with their tips. One of my grandparents had a great story the other day. Was it a grandparent? Put glitter on a children's fingers and then have them wander around the house. I know, maybe make it a room. Glitter's really annoying. And then have another child or have one of the grandparents step in and touch the places where the glitter is and explain transfer that way. It's a fun way of addressing why we need to wash our hands and sing happy birthday or whatever it is we're doing. I just thought it was a kind of a cool homeschooling tip. Feel free to use that one. I personally hate glitter. Every time I buy glitter, it ends up everywhere, including in my hair. So there you go. And focus on content, not promotions. I just want to make a call to Linda at the moment. Linda, are you interested in adding something or stepping in? Oh, Wendy, you have to click. Now that you've got it turned on and you've ticked it, you may actually in Creator need to refresh. Once you've refreshed in Creator Studio, click Create Post. And then on your page, I change it from public down the bottom to newsfeed targeting. So if you can see my screen, I click newsfeed targeting and then you can see it here. It's wherever it says public. So if you've got a different version than me, look for the public in the drop down menu, and then you can come in here and edit interest, browse, look for suggestions, and start to target that way. Look, I tell you what, if you join the online school, what was it again? It was bit.ly at the drop10.com. Let me put it in here, bit.ly/the drop10. That's it, yeah. All in lowercase, right? Okay. If you can, if you go to bit.ly the drop10, I will create a video, especially for you, on how to do targeted posts using both the old Facebook, in case you haven't switched across to it, and the new one, and Creator Studio, so that you'll have 3 options for not the ad. I'm not doing the ad one. You'll have the ad one. It's already, the ad one's already included in the online courses, but I will do one and I will pop it into the online community there with a link so that you can play along. I'm not sure why you're not seeing it, but it could just be that if you've just turned it on, it needs to propagate through the servers, and in all likelihood, it could take up to an hour for that to happen. So again, not a hard sell. I'm actually charging $10 a month because I just need to keep Viagra spammers out of the online community, and that's what happens with free courses, unfortunately. So you want to reconsider, you want to consider your Facebook groups as well, whether they're public or whether they're admin moderated or invitation or something. But you get the online community, you get the videos for Facebook and LinkedIn and hashtags and blah blah blah, and a certain amount of access to me. Let me just come out of that. Probably should have come out of that a while ago. Sorry. And there you go. So Amber, Linda's just put that up. I hope you found it useful. I really want to make these practical, these sessions. If you want another session, then ask Linda, like something separate from the online stuff that I'm doing around a particular topic. I want you to remember that you know your community better than anybody else. So when you're looking at the other clubs, they may have an older demographic. You might have a young Asian population, or you might have a university population, or you might be in inner city business to business population. Psychographic, preferred audience, let's call it that. That's what the algorithm calls it. So look at what others are doing, adapt, 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 pivot, pivot, pivot. You're going to be fed up with that word by the end of this whole virus. I think we might have to ban pivot once all of this is over. And I truly, truly wish you the best, and please be well, won't you? Thank you. Now, I've got to stop this.